Throughout history, people have made amazing accomplishments that define themselves. Now, it's our turn to tell those accomplishments, to tell his story, her story, their story, and even your story. With Mike Wexler.
Welcome to Your Story with me, Mike Wexler. I appreciate you tuning in. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I appreciate that you're actually listening and not watching. But if you're watching, hey, I appreciate it. Maybe just hit that subscribe button and maybe follow my guest at this time. This man, okay. So I always give these introductions to my guests, and it's truly an honor to have these guests. But this man in particular, oh my gosh, I saw him at New Japan Strong. Over in Riverside, California. But I've been a fan of his work for so long as a part of the West Coast Wrecking Crew when he did some Bloodsport. I've seen him all over the California and West Coast area. This man is a legend, and I always say that because this man's killing it at what he's doing. When it comes to from the Mile High City, I mean, I'm talking to the former United Wrestling Network television champ. I'm talking to the Heritage champ. I'm talking to the man, the myth, the legend. I'm talking to the one and only Royce Isaacs. How are you, my friend?
Man, I'm going to need you to introduce me to every function that I do from here on out in wrestling. Just like when I meet my girlfriend's parents, maybe that would help. If I'm just like entering a new room and people don't know me, I'm just going to be like, over my boy Mike. Anyways, I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much. I'm glad we're finally getting to sit down and chat, bro.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned before, I've seen your work for I believe a year now. I saw you first at Defy Wrestling, and of course, physically in person, thanks to the better conditions of the pandemic when it came to New Japan Strong. You've been killing it when it comes to not as just a tag team specialist, but also a singles competitor.
Yeah, I think I pride myself in being able to do both. I think that they are similar but different arts, and I want to be a well-rounded wrestler. Obviously, I have my certain style, but I try to take some chances and branch out a little bit. And part of that is also being able to do any style of match, whether it's singles, tags, tornado, hardcore, whatever. Wrestling is wrestling, and I love it all.
Yeah, and you got a lot of stuff coming up for those who don't know. You got another, as of this recording, it's already passed, but some New Japan Strong appearances. As far as, again, this recording, you do have Prestige Wrestling coming up as well. There's so much that is in the lineup that, I feel like 2022 is that year where everything's going to start back up again.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to see that happen. It's definitely been tough on the West Coast. We've had some really, really tough surges, especially here in Los Angeles, that some bookings ended up, canceling or falling through. It seems like things are starting to get going back again. I just had Defy last weekend for their anniversary, which was fucking awesome. Defy, I always loved. And, New Japan being a good, consistent thing has been great for me. It was tough when Jarrell and I first joined Strong. We were actually doing tapings with no fans, which was obviously great to be able to keep wrestling, especially for, New Japan that was always my number one, my goal. But it's still really tough when you don't have any of that fan interaction, especially because wrestling is so it's an integral part of it. And then as soon as we had shows that had fans, it was like, oh, yeah, okay, this is it's like one of those things where you kind of I don't know, if you're drinking diet soda and you're like, all right, well, this is this tastes pretty similar. But then if you have a real Coke after what, you're like, okay, but this is the thing. So it's been good to be able to stay consistent. But now that we have fans and we're up and running a little bit more, I'm really excited with the direction New Japan's going.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely saw from that New Japan taping over in Riverside once again, you saw the energy of the crowd being it. Of course, New Japan being the style where, it's a little bit silent at first, but I mean, you still feel the energy of each move being, maneuvered and all that. So it was really cool to witness all that in person.
Yeah, I think, when people talk about the differences in audiences, it's generally like it's not a quietness out of like boredom. It's a quietness out of respect and wanting to see your craft and take it in and really enjoy it. And also, I think a lot of those people are just kind of going off of maybe what they heard once or what they like the general feeling is. But like I wrestled for the strong crowds here. I wrestled for the DDT crowds in Japan themselves, and they get up for stuff. Like they are into wrestling. They love wrestling, and they will be, loud as can be when the time is right. So I think it's just one of those things where, yeah, there's like small differences, but I think it does get a little bit overplayed in terms of, I'll put it this way. There's plenty of indie crowds in the U.S. that are very quiet for certain things. Not for my matches, but
No, when it comes to Royce Isaacs, there's definitely not a silent person inside the room. I do want to talk first about just kind of your journey through professional wrestling. Obviously, you made your debut in June of 2014, and then you've been pursuing that passion ever since, killing it with matches, singles, and tag team. What made you kind of be inspired to become a professional wrestler?
I loved it as a kid, but I think that's 99% of the wrestlers had some love of it as a child. I watched it for a long time. I kind of fell out of love with it, and then it was one of those things where I kind of rediscovered it towards somewhere in college, and was like coming to the end of my my amateur wrestling and my football amateur careers, and I don't know, there was something about it that I was like, this is something that I think I could maybe do, that I think I might be good at, but I didn't know how to necessarily get started or where to go. And I was just really tired of wearing pants at my job one day. And I was like, I need to find something where I don't have to do that. Now, I really did. Like I worked in personal training. I worked in retirement home sales. I worked at a bank. Like, I did all these jobs, and I think my work record would show that I did a good job. I was an exemplary. Maybe I was a little shithead as an employee, but I did my job well. Like if you put numbers on boards, whatever, sales, people's lives change in personal training, whatever. I did really, really well at them, but it just wasn't very fulfilling to me. It wasn't like the right environment for my personality, and so I ended up going to an indie show in Colorado, Lucha Libre and Laughs. They still run. I'm actually their heavyweight champion right now. And I just watched the show, and I was like, I need to become a part of this. Like, I don't know. I didn't think I would do what I'm doing now in the business, but I just was like, I need to be a part of this somehow. I started training like 2 days later, and the rest is kind of history. Because honestly, by the time I was done with my last training, I was like, I need to make this my job somehow. I need to figure out somehow to make this my job, because this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to know that you're doing a job that you love. I mean, we saw with the pandemic where everybody was at home, really not doing anything, and if you were doing something, it was kind of on an essential level. It's awesome to really see those people, say, you know what, I want to do what I want to do now. You know what I mean? We're in that time zone where like everybody's pursuing their dream. So it's really awesome that you took that step forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important, and I don't know, you need something, even if it's not everyone can either, like some people's passions just aren't going to be places where realistically you can make a living, and honestly, wrestling is really tough for that as it is, anyways. We have in our business, we have a lot of hustlers and a lot of scrapers and scratchers that really, like, you have to be top tier, and you really have to have your shit figured out to be able to get to that kind of a level. So it's not necessarily realistic if you're like, I don't know, into like, I don't know what like bobsledders make on like a daily basis. Like I assume, but like that may not be like a realistic vocation. But if you can somehow find a way to do that in your life, you can like keep it in your life somehow, or what, I don't want to call out all these passion projects and have people be like, actually, I make more than you, because they probably do. Wrestling, is a tough business, but I do think it's important to have something in your life, whether it's some kind of art or some kind of, I don't know, like just you need something that you could, like if it's after work and you're, building things or whatever it is, like you need that in your life. It will make your life 100% better.
Yeah, that's the main focus of this podcast, Roy. Like this is, pursuing your passion, doing what you love, even if it's on the side, if it's something that you're doing full time. I mean, whatever makes you happy, I feel like that really, really helps you in the long run.
Yeah, man. As the philosopher Drake once said, you only live once. And so make it a good one. You know what I mean? Like, I know there's a lot of, I feel like culturally in America, there's a lot of pressure of like, get that bag, get money. Like, you have to, and like, that's great. Like, you have to pay your bills. Like, no one wants to be, out on the streets and whatever. But I don't think that's the end all be all, because pretty much every other job that I have done has paid better than wrestling, and I could be freaking the regional manager of some big box gym like that, but I would be absolutely miserable. I wouldn't be fulfilled. I wouldn't enjoy my day to day. It's like there's a lot more to life than money. So it's like, yeah, take care of your overhead. Make sure that you're able to put food on the table, but also like look within and think about what is going to make me most happy. And some people are that kind of like grinder hustler, that the thing that will make them the most happy is working 16 hours a day and business calls and trips and and that's great if that's your thing, but I'm just saying it's not for everyone. And I think it's really not for a lot of the people that maybe are falling into that mindset just because maybe it's in fashion and you see a lot of the cool, like, oh, you got to get into crypto and do this and do that. And it's like, hey, if that's your thing, cool, do you. But like, life is about a lot more than that, because as they say, you can't take it with you. Like once this is over, once this is gone, you are not getting buried with any of that stuff, So
Yeah.
make the most of your life and enjoy it.
Absolutely. One John Moxley said about 2020, said, get up and smell the roses, man. I mean, that's seriously how life is.
Yeah. Fucking A, man.
So one of the other things I do want to mention is, and we did talk about this before the interview had started. So for those who don't know, I'm a huge fan of the West Coast Wrecking Crew. For the longest, I've called them the SoCal Wrecking Crew. For some reason, I don't know why, but I always thought that was the tag team name. Came to figure out that wasn't the name, and I apologize for ever saw my Instagram story mentioning when I went to the New Japan Strong Show. But no, it's an awesome tag team along with Jarrell Nelson. I know Jarrell from he worked with the company named the Empire Wrestling Federation. Shout out to them a couple years back. So seeing your two's chemistry together, like where did that start for you guys? Like how did you guys build to that chemistry that you have now?
Honestly, it was totally unintentional. Like we got paired up by a promoter in Vegas, and originally our first name was the 1%. It was a deal where the promoter had this idea. He thought we could be like this kind of like top 1%, upper class, snooty, whatever team, and it worked for the time. It worked. It worked for us. We made it work. But I think once we just started like getting on the road together and like bullshitting about the business and getting to know each other, I don't know, we just got really close. It's like one of those when you have put in miles and blood, sweat, and tears together, you get really, really close really fast. And we just had that like personality where we just clicked. Like I don't know. I think that both of us can be kind of like grumpy old men sometimes and not like the most friendly or most social. But for some reason, I think maybe it's because we both were like, okay, yeah, real recognize real. But we were both just like, we had similar mindsets about the business. We had similar mindsets about, what we wanted to do. And I don't know, the partnership just worked really well naturally. And then we had kind of split off for not very long, but for a little bit, because I had gone to the NWA and they had kind of started to make it. So they wanted me to tag with someone else. So that was kind of the deal there. And as soon as we came back, as soon as I asked for my release and I was free, and it's like, okay, I can do whatever I want. It's like I knew that me and Jarrell were onto something. Like I thought there was something really special there, and I was like, I want to do it. That's now that I'm free and I can do what I want. That's what I want to do, and I think we both kind of wanted the rebrand as like it was awesome when we ran with it as the 1%, but like that's not really what we stand for, and we wanted to make it our own. And it's like, well, what are we like? And I thought back to a lot of the other historical wrecking crews in wrestling, and I was like, that's kind of more our vibe. Like we're kind of more of a like Minnesota wrecking crew, Steiner Brothers kind of thing.
Right.
And so it kind of, I was like we were floating ideas back and forth, and that's the one that kind of just stuck and worked. And I don't know, I think that it's kind of perfect for us.
Oh yeah, I mean you can see it through the team chemistry that you guys have, the personalities of both you and Jarrell. I remember in particular on that New Japan show in Riverside, how much fun you guys were having as a part of Team Filthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then
Team Filthy is great. Yeah, we are very, very happy to be part of Team Filthy. That is the number one 10-man tag team in wrestling, as in 5 of us, but we wrestle in 10 man.
Right. No, I was just going to ask you that too. I mean, what has it been like working with Tom Lawler and Kratos and oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember all the names. Danny Limelight, and I believe there was one more member.
No, that's the only official 5 members.
Okay.
We do have the sponsors bringing in Black Tiger, who's been assisting with quite a bit, but he is an affiliate rather than an actual member yet. We'll see about the books are closed right now on Team Filthy, but we may be opening them up, and obviously Black Tiger's been doing some good work beating up Rocky Romero, so that's nice. Now working with Tom, Tom is like a unicorn where he's a legit badass. I don't know if people will necessarily like already know his full history, but being on the Ultimate Fighter, being in the UFC, recently fighting for PFL, like this is a guy that was at the top of a whole different industry, just kicking ass and taking names, and has some really legendary moments in the sport, like dressing up as the Shockmaster or Dan Severn at weigh-ins, doing like these crazy antics and then punching people in the mouth and winning fights. But he also has the absolute mindset of a wrestler, and like someone that like that's someone that would have thrived in any era of wrestling. Like if you would have stuck him in a time machine and thrown him back into like, you know, the 70s Memphis territories, he would have crushed it there. Like he's a guy that would translate to any era. He has this huge personality, and he can freaking back it up in ring. So working with Tom, being part of Team Filthy, I think has been one of the biggest and best moves for myself and Jarrell.
Oh yeah, I mean, talk about not just the team itself, which is already stacked, but see, I'm a theme song guy, right? So the theme song of Team Filthy, phenomenal. Yeah. Like, if you could talk about that for a little bit, like, doesn't it like rock?
Okay, so I feel like that's everyone hears the song and they're like maybe 30 minutes later they realize it's like still going through their head, and then they're like, hey, like that song fucking rocks, right? And it's like, yeah, everyone,
right?
Yeah, we are all, yep, everyone agrees that song is the fucking best. It's on Spotify if anyone wants to check it out. It's literally just search Team Filthy by Q Brick, like Q the letter and then Brick. Team Filthy. It's literally, it's like you will be like, oh wow, I'm humming this at work. Oh, this is going through my head. It's just like, it's infectious. I wish I could meet the man Kubrick himself because he seems very mysterious, but it's a really, really good song. And yeah, I mean, wrestling theme songs, that's where it's at. So
yeah, I mean, it has the vibes of just these badasses that are just entering a bar, and they're like, you could feel it in the entire room that these guys are important business.
Yeah, it translates exactly what we are to our audience, so it's perfect.
Yeah, and going from theme songs aside, trust me, I could have the whole podcast talk about theme songs, but we're going to save that for another time. One thing I do want to mention is one of your biggest accomplishments when it comes to professional wrestling. We're going to get into the Bloodsport a little bit later because that to me is just intriguing. I was actually in the audience for that one as well in October
Oh yeah.
in LA at the Ukrainian Center. One of the things I do want to mention is the United Wrestling Network Television Championship win. You have some, and I probably am not alone in this opinion, the greatest defenses for that title. I mean, you have the bull rope match where that was just absolutely bloody. There was blood all over the place, but you still ended up with the win. How much value or how prestigious was that win for you, winning the United Wrestling Television Championship?
I appreciate the kind words, and I I loved my run with the belt. I thought that there was a lot of really good. I mean, even going back to when I first won it against Ray Rosas, I think that Ray and I had some really, really good back and forth matches, and I think he's really underrated talent wise. And we really pushed each other, and especially at a time where I was still fairly new to the SoCal scene because I had just moved out from Denver. I think I kind of found myself through wrestling and having some tough battles there. I really enjoyed the matches with Andy Brown, including there was a ladder match in there. Some of those are harder to find because they're not on YouTube. They're somewhere like buried on Fight. Hopefully they come out on YouTube at some point. But like Andy is now become a good friend of mine, and I really think that we did a good job of beating the tar out of each other. Um, of course, though, I think the crown jewel in that reign was definitely feuding with Bateman, and I think we had like 7 matches just on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and then probably a couple more on the Indies as well within like a year time span. We were just like, I feel like I saw him more than my parents probably, and it's like I don't know. He's a very scary and violent individual, but like I feel like that brings out the scariest, most violent me. So um, we really. I mean, I don't know. I looking back on the bloody bull rope match, like I love it. I love what it represents and the story that it told, and I don't know, bleeding all over the place is. I don't think that it's for everyone, and if you're not into that, then obviously don't watch the match. But if that's your kind of thing, if you like two big heavyweights beating the shit out of each other and bleeding all over the place and pushing till they can't push anymore, to me that is that's wrestling. That's wrestling. That's why I got into the business to do. So
Yeah, I mean, it's all about that storytelling at the end of the day.
yeah.
So you did mention about coming from Colorado to the West Coast, California, and performing in numerous promotions. The question I have for you is that what was that transition like? Because like going from your hometown to California, which has a stacked independent wrestling venue, like just the moniker of the independent wrestling is California, in my opinion. So how does it feel to like make that transition from Colorado to California?
I mean, it's pretty tough because wrestling is a lot of networking and who you know, and like when you just go to a new place and you only know a few people, it can be really tough. But I just kind of kept my head down, worked hard, and got myself out there. So it's definitely taken longer than I would have liked it took longer than I would have liked to kind of get around in SoCal. But that's like anything. I just knew that I had to kind of take a chance on myself that the cool opportunities like New Japan weren't going to just come knocking if I stayed in Colorado. I've never really had. I love Colorado. I have a lot of love for Colorado. My mom lives back there, but I've never grown like too attached to any particular place. Probably other than like Japan is pretty damn special, and I do really want to go back there and maybe one day I'll live there. But I mean, I went to college in Iowa, and it's like, also shout out to Iowa. The people there are great. Weather is the absolute dirt worst, but it's like I went to college, 12 hours away from where I grew up, and that was no problem. Taking a leap of faith and going somewhere because I think it's the right decision for myself has never been really much of an issue for me. So it was in some ways tougher than I would have hoped, but in a lot of ways it was like such an obvious no-brainer and an easy decision to make.
Yeah, when you're pursuing your passion, I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices that everybody has to make. But sometimes the risk is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so.
So one of the other things we did mention about blood when it came to Bateman versus Roy, one of the biggest accomplishments that you have thus far was Bloodsport 7. I mean, Bloodsport within itself, Josh Barnett, for those who don't know, has Bloodsport, and it is, I got to see twice now of a Bloodsport. It's truly an art form because like you get to see, real like beat down wrestling. And it's really cool to see. So what was it like really participating in your first Bloodsport? Was it something different? Was it something you were just like, hey, I'm ready?
Yeah, so I was a wrestler in high school and college, like the singlet and the headgear and whatnot. And so I always had a huge respect for anyone that could do that. And I watched a lot of pride fighting, UFC events, all that kind of stuff. Like I've always enjoyed watching that kind of, and so it kind of seemed like a natural fit. I met Josh at, I want to say a Suburban Fight show. He was at like a Suburban Fight GCW collab, and we talked a little bit. And I think shortly after that, he hit me up just to do some training. And Josh is like one of the coolest in terms of like if you are willing to give it your all and work your ass off, he will teach you, he will train you, he will tap you out about 3,000 times and make you squirm and hate your life, but you will appreciate yourself so much afterwards. So yeah, he hit me up like, hey, do you want to get better? Do you want to learn some stuff, kind of thing? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then the pandemic kind of hit, and things stalled out in terms of like actual wrestling shows running. So it was that being able to train and train at California MMA. Shout out to California MMA down in Gardenia. Being able to train there and give myself something to really like work on and a little bit of a distraction from when I wasn't able to wrestle as much was amazing, and still is amazing. I get down there when I can. And then when Bloodsport, I want to say 4 and 5 were the no fans ones that happened at Parts Unknown. And then 6 was in Tampa. So 4 and 5 happened beginning of last year, about a year ago. And Josh hit me up about, hey, we're doing this event. And I was like, yes, please. Like this is one of my big things that I wanted to do was I wanted to do Bloodsport because I thought that my background would translate well. And I thought it was something that I could be successful at, but also something that I have like a deep care for. Like I used to watch a lot of this stuff, and especially I used to watch old school Pancrase and back when Ken Shamrock was called Wayne Shamrock. You know what I mean? He didn't even have his name, and so it's like a respect thing that I have always loved. So yeah, man, being on Bloodsport has been great. I definitely droned on with that answer, but that's how I like to talk, baby.
Yeah.
Bloodsport's amazing.
Yeah, no. I love when people are passionate about what they love. So, I mean, hey, go on forever, man. But no, I mean, I appreciate the MMA fan love. I mean, I'm a huge MMA fan. I'm sadly not too up to date because the last time, hear me out. Okay, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, but the last UFC, particularly MMA fight I saw from my memory was Dan Hardy. He was in a welterweight championship match against George St. Pierre, GSP. And I remember the hype package for that. This was like 10 plus years ago now. So this is way out of me.
Yeah, of course.
And he was just talking the maddest crap.
Yeah, no, Dan Hardy was really good, but he also knew how to like do that little like wrestling style promo, get under people's skin before it was like quite as rewarded as it is today for being that kind of. Although I mean, he got his way to a title shot with it. But that was a pretty good fight. I remember GSP humbled him pretty well, if I recall correctly.
I believe so too. Hey, shout out to UFC Undisputed, the video game, for actually getting me up to date.
Yeah.
With not only just UFC but also Pride.
Yeah. Hey, Pride was the best because it was MMA, but like there was so much like wrestling packages and promos and antics, and like you have like Manoa like doing all these crazy training vignettes where he's fighting some really tall guy. So he has his training partner has like sticks tied to his arms and legs, and he's like swinging at him from stilts. And I don't know, like it was just like they definitely Pride captured the lightning in a bottle, and it's a shame that there isn't real. Like I know that people have tried to kind of have their spiritual successors, but there's been nothing quite like Pride since it left.
Oh yeah, and the most memorable rivalry. I don't care what anybody else says, but still to this day, my favorite rivalry: Rampage Jackson, Vanderlei Silva. That was a rivalry.
Yeah, that was a great rivalry. I still remember Rampage cut some promo where he was like, "Tell that guy chupa me pau," and I didn't know what it meant, but I knew that chupa definitely meant suck. I knew that bow was something in Portuguese. I was a personal trainer at the time, and I go to my training client, and I was like, "Hey man, does bow mean dick?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what it means, bro." I was like, "Aha!" But no, they were crazy. They were like soccer kicks and stomps and all this. Like, it had the best rule set. It had the best fighters. It had the best presentation. The screaming lady that would like ring announce all this stuff. Like, Pride was the best.
Yeah, I mean, will definitely not be anything else like Pride. I mean, I miss Pride. I mean, shout out to Pride.
Yeah.
It was something truly special.
Absolutely.
So one of the other things too I do want to mention is the fact that you have so much coming up. You have so much that is still in store for Roy Isaacs. So the question I have is like, what's the goal for 2022, or even maybe I would even say like the next 5 years? Like, is there any championships that you're looking at? Any companies? Maybe some AEW, some WWEs.
I think my biggest thing is continuing with New Japan, and I want to get back to Japan and actually do a tour with New Japan in Japan. Yeah, I mean, as far as championships, I would say the IWGP tag titles, is definitely in the line of sights for Jarrell and myself. I think if they ever make 10-man tag titles, the Team Filthy is obviously the shoe-in. And other than that, it's like I have singles matches here and there that I really want. Like I think Speedball Mike Bailey is killing it on his U.S. run, but that's a guy that I'd gone back with years and years. We did tours of Japan together in 2016 and 17. So that's someone that I think I would really like to harm, hopefully at a soon time.
Right.
Adam Thornstowe is on kind of like a one last singles run before retirement, and Adam's someone that I've always had the utmost respect for in wrestling. So I would really like to get that in. And I always really enjoy when Chris Dickinson and myself harm each other. So that's another one that I think I would be very surprised if it didn't happen. Oh, and two more. I could go on. You give me
go
two.
ahead. Go ahead.
I need another match with Jungle Boy because he's a guy that we used to train together quite a bit. We still get it in sometimes, but I want to test myself against the best, and I think he's one of the absolute best at what he does. So him and Alex Coughlin's another one that like whenever me and him are harming each other, it's pretty enjoyable to the fans and enjoyable to me after the fact when I'm iced up and get some ibuprofen in the system. But I think any of those people would be great matches, and I don't know. I just line up the scraps. I want all of them.
Oh yeah, well, we cannot wait to see what Royce Isaacs does in 2022. Before we go, I do have two more questions that I like. This is personal questions, so this is kind of like something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
One of them, when it comes to the West Coast Wrecking Crew and Team Filthy in general, you guys do the most legendary of promos. One in particular that I do want to talk about is the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Say that 5 times fast. Promo versus, it was a tag team match at Jamie Iovine's Halloween Hooteny. And it was against Starboy Charlie and Nick Wayne. I think that was definitely my favorite promo, and I'll tell you why. Because you made it to the point where you made a Boys to Men reference, and you're like, okay, wait, we have to wait till their fans look up who Boys to Men is. And I'm like, as someone that's relatively in the millennial Gen Z, whatever you like to call me age, as a 23-year-old kid, I knew who they were before that promo. So it was awesome to see you kind of make that reference.
Yeah, no, I think first of all, shout out to Starboy Charlie, because I know he's still recovering from he broke a bone in his leg during the match, unfortunately. But I think he's back on the mend and he'll be back soon. And shout out to Nick Wayne, because as of this taping, he just signed his big AEW contract and he's going to go be a big fucking star, and he absolutely deserves it because he's really talented. But no, I think it's one of those things where, I was trying to come up with, all right, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And it was like, well, it is kind of like, it's like a Boys to Men thing. And I was like, these kids are going to have they're going to be like, who is that? So I was like, well, it's funny to be like, yeah, we'll wait for their fans to Google it. But it's also like, I can laugh at myself. I understand that at 32 years old, I may make references that people don't understand and whatnot. So it's one of the things, if I can laugh at myself, but I can also make a joke at them and everything. It's fun.
Yeah, that was definitely entertaining, especially the graphic where they literally look up on Google Boys to Men.
that was Jarrell's quick editing. He was like, I'm going to literally like put this in with like the typing and everything. I was like, all right, my man, let's do this.
Well, definitely one of the most legendary promos. Check it out on Instagram. I'll definitely share it again on my Instagram as a promo for this interview. And then the final question I have is this. I mean, it's not okay. Is it maybe a typical podcast question? Probably not, or probably is, but I probably don't know. But it's really just, you talk about your passion for professional wrestling. We not just know that and how much that you love the business, how much you've made friends, brothers, sisters all over the business. But the one thing that I've really noticed too, and it comes from your social media, is how important family is. You talk about, your girlfriend, how much she's an important piece in your life and your family. So I guess the final question to the Your Story podcast is, how important to you is family in your life?
I mean, I think family is everything. You need to have that good support base. You need to have people that have your back. And I think I'm lucky in that I have multiple families, and that, I have my parents, but I have my girlfriend. I have my little Pomeranian dog. That's my girlfriend's dog. Hold on, let's get Pixie on camera.
We're getting the exclusive, guys.
Oh goodness. Oh, you were just taking a nap. How could I wake you up? I know, Pixie's okay. What a good girl. I have Pixie, and she's very supportive and very nice. And I think that I'm lucky being in wrestling, where I have like my wrestling family. Like Jarrell is family to me. Like that's blood to me. He's had my back on some like real life shit. And I have other friends in wrestling. If I got into it, it would be I would end up talking about it for too long and whatnot. But like I am the most grateful to my support base, because without them, I'm not really anything.
Yeah, well, hey, I appreciate that. I mean, I really feel the same way. I mean, family is so important. I mean, I think my family, but also, my wrestling family, my sports family, like I appreciate all that. That really kind of motivates me to just keep going.
Hell yeah. You're not wrong, brother.
All right. Well, Royce, I do thank you so much for being a part of this episode of Your Story. But before we go, this is the time. Plug your social media. Where can the people find Royce Isaacs?
At Royce Isaacs on Twitter, at Royce Isaacs on Instagram. And if you can catch me in person, I'm going to be at Bloodsport March 31st, and I'm going to be at Windy City Riot for New Japan on April 16th. So come out and see a show.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Royce. And again, I got to do this stupid social media thing where I have to plug the social medias. Make sure you guys follow Royce Isaacs on all social medias. As he just mentioned, link will be down in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can listen to your podcast. But if you're listening to this and actually hearing with your ears and not watching this, do me a favor and actually subscribe to that. That would be amazing. As well as if you're watching physically and you're watching the legendary Roy with his legendary Pomeranian, it is, you can subscribe as well. But thank you so much, Roy, and we'll see you guys again in the next episode of Your Story